Hey everyone, Brent here, and today we're going to go through the setup process for the RaceCapture app on a Raspberry Pi. So a little bit of a backstory. We use we have the RaceCapture app running on a couple of different Raspberry Pi systems, primarily for the purpose of testing the RaceCapture app as we do another release. We want to make sure that it runs on the Raspberry Pi as we expect. And since we do frequent releases, we have to be able to test these pretty efficiently. So what we have here is this is the Raspberry Pi 3 tester. And then connected to the RaceCapture, right here we have the Raspberry Pi 4 tester. And right here we have a stack of unopened Raspberry Pi 5 parts. So we're just going to make a third tester for our system, and you're welcome to follow along and see what works, what doesn't work. I'm doing this for the very first time for the Raspberry Pi. I believe that we have the correct instructions for Raspberry Pi 5. We did some internal testing, and I'm just going to run through it and answer your questions, and let's just see if there are any pitfalls or if I got everything right. Yeah, so let's take a look. While I do this, I have a window open where I can see any questions in the chat. So go ahead and ask your questions, and if I see the question, I'll go ahead and do my best to answer. So normally I would just do this on my own, but I thought it would be fun to just hang out with you all and kind of do this together. Okay, so let's take a look at the parts we have. So I'm going to go ahead and set these aside. I think if we have time, we could do a performance comparison between the Raspberry Pi 4 and the 3 and the 5, because truth be told, I have not seen the actual performance of the Raspberry Pi myself. We had a team member, Gil, did a lot of the work to get the 5 working, and much gratitude to Gil for that. So it'll be really cool to see this working. So what I have here is a Raspberry Pi 5, 4 gigs of RAM. Box is unopened, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Have it on my handy anti-static mat. So the Raspberry Pi 5 is the same form factor. There's some interesting changes here. We have these tiny HDMI connectors, and also a PCIe connector, and the camera and display connectors here. So this is a little bit different than before. I also got this Smart Pi Touch Pro enclosure. This is similar to the same enclosures that we got for the Raspberry Pi 4 and 3. They're made by the same manufacturer. They have a handy base for setting up the Raspberry Pi with the official display. Yeah, and then speaking of which, we have the official display here as well, which will go into it. Okay, so we have the Raspberry Pi. We have the one thing I almost forgot to order, and this arrived just today, is the heatsink for the Raspberry Pi 5. And this is now recommended for the Raspberry Pi because it does produce more heat. So let's take a look. It looks like there's a few silicone heat conductive pads on the bottom of the heatsink, and that looks like it matches up to the processor, Looks like the Wi-Fi module here, I believe, and then this might be the, I think this is a special chip that Raspberry Pi uses. Nope, this might be the special chip. This might be something else. Oh, this is the power management controller, as evidenced by all of these caps. Okay, so there's the heatsink. It looks like that installs, wait a sec. Let's see how this goes here. Oh, there they are. Yeah, these two holes are the heatsink. So once that gets installed, then you push these pegs through. Okay, I'll go ahead and set that aside. So let's get this Smart Pi Touch out of the box, and we'll take a look at what this kit involves. Now, I would not recommend this particular enclosure for a Raspberry Pi setup for your race car. This is just for our bench testing purposes. So we got some hardware and an external fan, so it looks like it'll have a double fan. I think the whole idea of a fan kind of in a race car environment kind of irks me. It's just another point of failure, but that's a whole nother topic. Okay, we have some other, got the assembly instructions. We're going to bring those up online. And then these are the pivots for the feet for the case. And then we have the base of the case here. Looks like it goes like that. Upside down. Okay. Step one, let's go ahead and take a look at the instructions for the Smart Pi case. Smart Pi Touch. Let's see. So this would be the Smart Pi Touch Pro. Smart Pi Touch Pro case. There we go. Let's see where the instructions are. Download assembly instructions. So we have the one, fortunately we have the one that is compatible with the Raspberry Pi 5. Setup instructions, and we'll go ahead and zoom these. Okay, using this case with the Raspberry Pi 5. Okay. Something about the splitter cable. So we have the Raspberry Pi 5 with the USB-C connection to the Pi 4 and 5, and then the USB-C input. Assembly step one, we choose which splitter works with the Raspberry Pi model. Okay, so we're going to get the splitter that goes with I don't think we need these because we're not setting up a camera, and we don't need the other one. So I'll set this aside, and it looks like they want us to put the connector onto board like that. Okay. Okay, moving on. Step two, use two small black screws to secure the small plastic retaining clip. Okay. Let's grab a screwdriver and see where this clip lives. Looks like it's, could it be this one? I think it's this part here. Okay. I want to make sure that you can see everything. Power cable screws for step two. It looks like they forgot to include that in the original packaging, so they have to do a little extra step with the label. Set that aside. We don't know anything about screwing up packaging or anything like that. do we? All right, get the screwdriver in here. Whoops. A little awkward to do this on camera. Okay, here we go. Do you all ever purposefully magnetize your screwdrivers? Like, it is super handy. You just drag your screwdriver tip across a magnet. I can save you a lot of time. But these are going in okay. Okay. All right, next set of instructions. Assembly step 3, assemble the metal base on the bottom of the plastic case. The metal base can only properly assemble onto the base one way. So we have some screws and we have some feet. Okay, we're going to do that next. I'll set this aside. Get a little pile of hardware here. It looks like it's these 4 silver screws that match the documentation. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so it says the base only goes on one direction. I think they might have it. This might be backwards. Let's take a look here. Oh, this is heavy. There we go. Yeah, that's a pretty stout piece of metal. Sec. We have the inner ones. Oh, okay, so it goes on the inside. Because those screws went in too easily. That's weird. Okay. We have the inside and the outside screws. Okay, these are correct. I'm not sure what those are for yet. And the feet just kind of arbitrarily go on roughly in the corners, so they don't have any specific locations to put that. I guess they didn't make this a stamped bottom. I mean, it's cut out of a piece of metal, but they didn't actually stamp it with a recess for any of the feet. I guess it's no big deal. So we're going to put these feet on roughly in the corners. Of course, I'm just eyeballing these. I probably should ask, has anybody already set up a Raspberry Pi 5 in their race car as a dashboard? That would be good to know. Oh, okay, so that's what those holes are. So that in case you want to mount this base to something. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so now that we have the base on, we can move on to the assembly. Okay, assemble one of the white ribbon cables with the contacts facing up. If using the fan, oh wait, okay, for the Pi 3 and 4, we are not doing that. For the Pi 5, they have a special type of, wow, that's fancy. So we have this S or curved cable, ribbon cable, in order to reach the Raspberry Pi 5. So assemble the golden ribbon cable with the contacts facing up to the display connection on the display board. Okay, now we have to open the display board. Let's take a look at that. set aside this base. So this is the standard, or the official touch display for the Raspberry Pi. So we have quite a few of these actually. We have a few, we have 2 for each of our existing testers, plus a couple more just for other purposes. But yeah, it's their display and it works. So okay, so we have this wacky looking ribbon cable, and they intend for us to connect it like so. We're going to break this part in the middle. It looks like they suggested that we break this little bridge to allow additional flexibility in the cable. So, and then those gold contacts point up. You want to make sure that the FPC cable is pointing out. It looks like it is. Get that inserted until it seats, and then you push the 2 black pegs on either side of the connector inward so that it locks this gold cable into place. And then in the instructions, they are claiming there is a piece of tape not provided can be added to the cable here to keep it secure to display. Let's see what I got. I think I have some white duct tape that we can use. Let's see what we have here. That should be fine. Yep. You know, this is not a bad idea for a lot of reasons. The thing I find interesting and most concerning in a race car environment is just vibration. So if you're cobbling together a Raspberry Pi system for your race car, you want to think about lashing down any loose cables. Anything that vibrates can become a wear point and can either cause a wire to break or something to come loose. And that's where you get like the intermittent connections, the displays going out randomly, unexplained, intermittent problems. So dealing with vibrations is a big deal, and we put a lot of work into our current RaceCapture products to make sure they are ruggedized in the sense of dealing with noise and vibration and stuff like that. I know a lot of you love to put solid motor mounts, and the softest motor mounts that you could put in your car that achieves the desired results is what you want to do, because not only will you get driver comfort and reduce noise, you will also save all of the wiring and fittings, and anything that can harmonically vibrate based on the engine's RPM will inevitably cause a like a break in an oil feed line or a break in a connector. Those type of things it increases the chances of a failure. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox and move on. Okay, so we have the cable connected, so assembly step. Okay, yeah, attach the display to the housing using a green screws as shown below. Feed the gold ribbon cable through the housing as shown below. Okay, yeah, got it. It looks like, oh, we need to connect these red and blue wires before we put it in the housing. Okay, so red up here. Why did that go on so difficult? That's strange. Okay. Red and black, I should say. I think I said blue. Okay, there's red and black connectors. And okay, let's go on to the next step. So the 5 attached to display housing using the green screws, so the red and the black wires will come out of that back side. And this looks like the enclosure. So let's, I think this is the front. Yeah, this is the front. It has to be. Did they have us take off the, oh, hold on a second. So, oh yeah, so these red circles, there are some standoffs that they want us to remove. Did they even make a mention? Remove the standoffs that attach the display board to the display and replace with the provided gold screws circled in red. Okay, we can do that. Okay, so I'm looking at the comments, sorry. Cameron Conover says, I probably missed it. What case is that? This is a case you don't want to use in your race car, but you could use on the bench. It is called the Smart Pi Touch Pro. And Paolo says, hello from Australia. The documentation you're following is not the same as the one linked in the video. You are correct. I am first setting up the enclosure, and this enclosure is not necessarily the one we recommend in our instructions. In fact, I don't think we recommend any specific enclosure for the instructions. That is up to you. But as soon as we get to the part where we start installing software, we will switch back to the instructions on the wiki. So yeah. Okay, so let's deal with these standoffs. And it looks like they really want you to use, wow, those standoffs are on there pretty good, so I have to get a tool. I know I'm using the wrong tool for this, but I'm not going to I'm not going to make you wait while I rummage through the tool bin. Okay. So we have these really short gold screws that came with the case. Yep, and they fit. I'll go ahead and remove these other ones. You know, so I'm kind of doing this for the first time. We might come to a screeching halt in case we run into something unrecoverable, but that is the format of this live stream. It's not guaranteed to work, but I figured why not hang out with all of you while I do this so I can show you how it is done. Maybe you haven't done this before, you're not sure how it works, and it's kind of like a way to hang out. Okay, so now we can get back to installing the, it looks like it goes like this. Yeah. Yeah, that comes out. It comes out of the case. Oh. I think. Make sure the screen is in view, or the camera's in view, I should say. Interesting design. Okay, now we're on the back side. That looks Yeah, that seems to match that matches the design, the intended design. Okay. So I have the green screws next. Wait, let me pause. Oh. Okay, yeah. No more questions. Green screws are going in. I don't know why they picked the green screws for this. It's like it's all color coded. Okay, that seems all right. So let's assembly step 6. If we're using the port blocking parts from the backside cut out, blah, 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 I'm going to ignore that. Okay. It looks like now we can okay, it says you can choose to mount the Raspberry Pi in the other set of brass inserts if you'd like. Okay. Pi 5. So we have the... Okay, cool. Let's take a look. So it looks like the Raspberry Pi 5 goes here, and then they have the precisely shaped display ribbon cable that will go into, it looks like it goes into camera display 1. Okay, let's get that attached. Interesting. So there are some brass standoffs that they suggest that they suggest be used on the Raspberry Pi itself. Let us double check the parts that they provided. So these are the fan parts. Interesting. I don't see an extra set of standoffs provided with this kit. I wonder if we could use the standoffs provided by that were removed from the display. Does seem, yeah, just as Cameron said, maybe the ones from the display. It's certainly possible. You know, I'm gonna roll with that. I don't see a reason not to. Those installed. Seems okay. Not a ton of thread engagement though. That part's a little disappointing. Makes me think that the standoffs are needed for something. Yeah, I wouldn't use this case in a race car because there's just not a lot of, there isn't a lot of thread engagement here. But I think it'll do for the purposes of what we need it for. Okay, now the next step is to get the display plugged in to the camera port. I should say the display/camera port. And looks like this is a little bit more of a delicate operation than you would think. Okay, and there it is. Now it's in, and then you would gently push down these, retaining this locking clip. And there you go. And okay, so moving on, you can choose to mount the Raspberry Pi and other sets of brass inserts or whatever. Okay. We're not using the camera. We're going to skip that part. Might want to... Okay. Let's see how much we can skip. Oh, that's funny. So there, it looks like the power connection from the display is only used to power the fan. So let's see if we can get this fan installed, the actual heatsink fan, and see where we can go from there. I have not read the instructions, but let's see, the power connection goes behind this USB port. So I believe that comes off. I need a little tool to pop that off, like a pair of tweezers. There is a lid over this. There we go. It is a little bit fussy. Let's see. I think I do have that orientation correct. And there we go. Power connection is in, and then now I can slide the fan over, and that's pretty straightforward. Push the two pegs into the Raspberry Pi until the heatsink locks into place. Not bad. Okay. So for powering, we have the power for the display, and we have the power for Raspberry Pi itself. Now there's also the location for the SD card is right underneath there. So we have to have the back of this case open for when we download and install the OS. So I think I wonder if I should, thinking about skipping ahead. And see if I could power this up. Maybe we can get the base installed. See how that goes. Maybe. Let's see. I think actually for the purposes of this demo, the base won't be helpful because the camera won't be able to see it. It doesn't allow the display to fold all the way down. So we're going to do this without the base for now. Leave these loose, and then it looks like the back side goes on like this, and then this can power both the display and the Raspberry Pi. Come to think of it, I think I'm going to remove this power adapter for now, just so I can run it without the back on, and then we can flip it upside down on the bench so we can have access to it when we first install the SD card. Okay, so let's just set this aside. And then the power connector, it's funny how they've like thought this out completely. Read manual, okay. And this is the power connection for the Raspberry Pi display. Okay, so we have a power connection for both the Raspberry Pi itself and a Raspberry Pi display. So aside from the SD card, there's no reason why this wouldn't power on and like show something or like show some activity. It won't boot up anything, but it looks like it's kind of ready to go. So let's move on to getting the OS downloaded and installed. So now we can switch to our instructions, no problem. So I have my SD card on my USB stick here, and let's move on to the wiki. So here's our wiki. Oops, that's the wrong project. Okay, RaceCapture app on the Raspberry Pi. So we go to the installation. We currently recommend Raspberry Pi OS Lite, Debian version 12 Bookworm. So download from the official site or use a Raspberry Pi imager. I think I'm going to download it from the official site and then use the imager to write it to the SD card. Okay, so the one we want is we want the Lite. We want the Lite 64-bit. Make sure you get the 64-bit because 32-bit won't work. It'll install and everything, but the app won't work. So, and I've already done that a couple of times. Okay, so we have Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64-bit system, so we're going to download that. This is the July 4th release. So now we are downloading. So this is an XZ file. I forgot how to extract XZ Linux. Okay, oh. tar xf file, tar xz, okay, that's fine. Looks like we're still downloading. And here's our downloads. We already have the Raspberry Pi imager. I did that in advance. .432 meg image. So we have a 32-bit SD card that we're going to use. I get that plugged into the USB port. So we have that 32 gig volume. Whoops. So this is attached to SG2. Okay, so I'll remember that. We are almost done downloading. It's funny, I guess I probably should opt for the gigabit fiber here at our lab, because at my home office we have gigabit fiber and it is fast. Okay, so we have there's a Raspberry Pi. Okay, so tar xz 2024. XCF. Not in gzip format, okay. What am I doing wrong? Linux tips. Tar XF. Oh, I have to install. Really? Oh, man. Tar. Oh, X is ZF. This does not look like a tar archive. Oh, unxz file.xz. Wow, okay. Unxz. Oops. Unxz. Now it's extracting the image. It's going to grind on that for a while. While it's doing that, let's look at the Raspberry Pi. Ooh, that's weird. Firefox is not responding. Oh boy. Okay, so let's see. We have a bin file that is, nope, we have the, there we go, so the .img file. So we run the Raspberry Pi imager, and let's get that on here so we can choose the OS. Oh, let's see here. I wonder if there's, use custom image. Okay, downloads. Okay, I'm using this custom image. Storage. This is the card reader, and then let's look at the options. Pi 5 test. Use password, allow, enable SSH. That's fine. Set username and password. So we're going to do Pi 5 test. I'm not going to configure wireless LAN because I have a Ethernet connection I can plug right into it. And eject media when done. And let's do the writes. All your existing data, yes. Okay, while that is running, I wonder why my Firefox took a crap. So let's take a look here. Okay. Okay, looks like we're back. Get the Raspberry Pi imager going. While it's doing that, let's take a look back at our display. So we have the Raspberry Pi 5 connected. We'll get that SD card installed. I wish it was easier to get the SD card in and out of this device. It is what it is. Other than that, it's not a bad case. hardware here. Feel free to shout out your questions while this is grinding along. Hopefully this will get a little more interesting when we have the RaceCapture app booting up. So we have the system we're going to test this on is a RaceCapture Pro with via the USB-C connector. One thing you might have not noticed, we just released a version of the RaceCapture app that does a lot better job connecting over Wi-Fi across all platforms. So the Wi-Fi connection for Android when connecting to the RaceCapture device, as well as all the desktop versions, was having issues on the initial connection. After it connected, it was fine, but it was having a lot of problems doing that initial connection. We have that fixed in the latest version of the app, so I think with confidence you can even use a Wi-Fi connection for the Raspberry Pi or Android or iOS, or even the live streaming. That if you have like a B-Link, you can connect that up to the RaceCapture via Wi-Fi and then show the telemetry data. So it's kind of cool, like one RaceCapture system can pump data to multiple instances of the RaceCapture app for actually, so USB is one, Bluetooth is a second one, and then you have two more connections via Wi-Fi. So you can hook up 4 different instances of the RaceCapture app to the RaceCapture. Oh, and then there's another thing that we're fixing in the firmware, and that's the Wi-Fi reconnect. So right now there's an issue, like if the hotspot in the car is not currently connected, or on I should say, when the RaceCapture starts up, it does one attempt to connect to that network, and if the network doesn't exist, then it doesn't retry. So we have fixed the firmware so that it will retry that Wi-Fi connection. So either device can come on at in any order. So if RaceCapture comes up first and then the hotspot boots up, it'll still connect eventually. And it looks like it's going still. We are verifying the image, so might as well let it continue. Let's go back to the wiki and see what it says. Okay, so we download the Raspberry Pi OS, and then once that image is in there, we're going to boot up the Raspberry Pi and follow the prompts that set the keyboard language and set the username and password. We already set the password, and then we'll be able to log in. At that point, I'll also plug in the Ethernet network. We should be on the network, and then we'll be able to run the installation script and see the app running, hopefully, crossing fingers. Let's see where we're at. We're at 70%. And so if we scan ahead, there are some parts about setting up the Wi-Fi and the time zone and like checking your network. Update to the latest packages is always a good thing to do. And then the RaceCapture app installation. This is the part where, well, updating the packages, you'll need a network connection, but of course you'll also need one for the installation. So from the command prompt right on the keyboard on the screen, I have a keyboard I'm going to plug into it as well. You'll enter this command, and this will basically do everything in one shot to download the app and set up the system to do all the things. So Alan is asking, when will the new RaceCapture firmware be available with the Wi-Fi fix? We are hopefully really soon. So we have that working. We're fixing a few other bugs and doing final testing to make sure all the RaceCapture versions work. So what's cool about our firmware is that we don't abandon, well, we do our best to not abandon old versions of our hardware, and I think we've done a pretty good job so far. So this Wi-Fi fix will apply to all versions of RaceCapture that support the built-in Wi-Fi connectivity. So RaceCapture, all the RaceCapture track versions, RaceCapture Pro starting with Mark II and up, and then Podium Connect as well will all benefit from this update. We're doing a few other fixes. I think some small ones were automatic logging, a bug around automatic logging when you set the duration to 0, and then also the ability to, when you reset the session, it will also reset the elapsed time as well as the session time. Just a few little things, but I think they'll make a difference for people. The Wi-Fi one, yeah, we're especially excited about. Okay, it looks like it's done. I can remove the SD card reader from the reader. Can remove the card from the reader. Let's go ahead and do that. Pull that out, and now we have the card. So now I'm going to have to do a little bit of. It's a little bit of a tight fit to get the. I believe this is the right orientation for the card, if I remember. Wow. Am I going to have to I think I'm going to have to unscrew this Raspberry Pi to put in the SD card, because there's just not enough clearance with that case. This is super jank. I apologize to all tool owners. Okay. Wish I had a nut driver handy with me. Okay, now we can flip this over. Is that the right orientation? Yes, that is correct. So that goes in, oh, it goes in face down. So I was assuming maybe it was face up, and that is not right. Okay, yeah, since this SD card is mounted on the bottom side of the board, this totally makes sense for the installation orientation. Get these standoffs on again. You know, it's funny. I wonder if I could use screws instead. I think I'm going to do that because I'm looking at the back of this case and I don't see any reason for the standoffs to be used at all. I have to use the pliers in case I have to remove them and embarrass myself once more. Okay, so I'm going to hold down the Raspberry Pi with just 2 screws to start with, in case I have to pull the card out again. All right, so it looks like the OS is installed. We have, let's take a look here. Look at the bottom side. I'm going to get access to some power and some network. Let's see if this thing works. So I have Ethernet plugged in, and let's see if it goes. Fan is spinning. And I don't see anything on the display yet. I think I'm going to unplug this network cable. So, well, there's something definitely going on. There's activity on the, oh, what are we doing here? so the fan runs for a while. There's a green flashing activity. And then, will it happen again? I saw the light go red. Let's see if we have something. Oh wait, we have something on the screen. I thought I was going to have to end the live stream early and escape. There we go. Wow. I told you there was no guarantees. I wonder if... Okay. Let's see. Yeah, here we are. Let's put a little cushion underneath the corner here. And let's get the keyboard plugged in. Let's find out if we're on the network. So Pi. There we go. And ping Google. We have a ping from google.com. Okay. We're cooking with gas. So now we're going to do a sudo apt update and then a sudo apt dist upgrade. Sudo pt up update. Okay. Sudo apt dist dash upgrade. Yes. I'm really interested. Oh. Wow. Really? That fast? I was expecting it to grind on this for a long time. Let me do it again. Let me just do a regular upgrade. Okay. Looks like all the packages are pretty current, which is quite surprising. So that means we can get to the actual interesting part, which is the actual installation script. So here we go. So I'm going to, unfortunately, I don't have convenient SSH access to, I might have SSH access. Let's see. Should I just not be lazy and type it in by hand? Okay, let's give it a shot. Sudo sh-c. I think I need to install curl first. Let's see. Curl is already installed. Okay. Okay, sudo sh-c curl. Oops. Oh, this keyboard layout is not right. See, I think I'm doing the bad thing and I'm skipping over some steps. And I didn't get, I think I need to do the Raspi config. I think Raspberry Pi OS normally has you do the Raspi config, but let me just do it anyways. Sudo Raspi config. So let's do, okay, so system options, display options, interface options. Is it keyboard? Is it under localization? Yeah, keyboard. So we have a generic 105 keyboard, and then we're going to do English, US. That's fine. And finish. I might have to reboot it. Let's see how fast this thing boots up. It does seem pretty speedy. Wow, that is pretty fast. Oh, I still have the ampersands, the @ symbols for the, okay. Pi. Let's try the localization options again. Maybe the keyboard didn't take generic 105 keyboard, other, English US. I think this is what we want, other, okay, 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 country of origin, did I skip past English, US, okay, okay, I think so. If I escape out, finish, I know that that's a little bit aggravating. Sudo let me try one more time, one more reboot to see if I can get that quote. That is a little aggravating. Not being able to, let's go ahead and take this off. Not being able to use the keyboard as I expect. Man, it does boot up fast though. If this isn't, nope. So I'm gonna try to SSH in via the desktop and then set it up that way. Pi. Okay. I'm going to get the IP address is 10.20.229.131. 10 SSH Pi at 10.20.229.131. Yes. I am in. So I don't know if we just caught what I did here. I enabled SSH when I created the image for the Raspberry Pi. So I am on the computer and I've jumped over to the Raspberry Pi on a separate window. So that is what I'm doing. So now I can be a little cheaty and literally copy and paste the setup script into the window. And here we go. Here is the setup for the RaceCapture app on the Raspberry Pi. So here we have a question, enable auto login on startup. Yes. Enable the official touchscreen support. Yes. And we are going to do direct frame buffer because we've only downloaded the Lite Raspberry Pi, so yes. Enable auto restart watchdog. What that means is if the RaceCapture app crashes for any reason, it will automatically restart the app. Enable mouse pointer, so if the mouse is installed, it'll show a cursor on the screen. You can use that instead of the touchscreen. And then the touchscreen keyboard, whenever you have a text field, it'll pop up something. It'll pop up a keyboard. Automatically reconnect Wi-Fi, that's self-explanatory. Mount USB drives under media USB. This in case you have a USB drive that you want to use to transfer files. This will do it automatically. and this wait for network during boot, disabling that allows it to start up faster so it can get into the app faster. So now it's going to do some stuff. It's downloading files. And this is kind of the moment of truth because we are going to see if this actually boots into the RaceCapture app. Now we're downloading the latest version of the RaceCapture app, 2.15.3. It's installing it. It seems pretty quick. I'm pretty impressed. I'll have to see how it actually behaves in the UI. And okay, so it is done. So there is a chance that this will work. Let's see what happens. Let's go back to the screen. I just rebooted it from the command window, and it's going to boot up, and let's see what happens. Starting the RaceCapture app. Crossing all the fingers. Yes! It started up. Wow, that's fantastic. So I'm going to plug in the RaceCapture here. Let's see. I don't know if the ooh, that's weird. I saw some weird behavior from RaceCapture when I plugged it in over USB. Let's see what happens. It looks like it was interfering with the power. Okay, and it connected. Okay, so we're on the screen. We're gonna skip. Continue setup next time. No thanks. And we're in. So here we are. We have it working on the Raspberry Pi 5. Let's see how the performance works. Wow, that's pretty nice compared to Raspberry Pi 4. Yeah. Let's do something like wow, that is a lot more responsive. So add gauge type analog. Let's go to, damn, this is nice. So let's just pick the default one. So that's yaw sensor. Drag it on the screen. Oh, that is so good. Let's see, I'm going to add a dashboard. Raw channels. Unlock the dashboard. Let's just shrink that. Yeah, it's not like I have an ECU connected or anything, but let's add an analog gauge. Let's go back to that yaw sensor. And let's look at the presets. Import analog gauge preset. So we have a couple of system presets. Oh, yeah. There we go. Oh, that is gorgeous. This thing, yeah, this thing flies on the Raspberry Pi 5. This is really nice. Yeah, the setup screen. You know, as you can imagine, I use this app a lot, and just the responsiveness on the different screens. I would totally upgrade to the Raspberry Pi 5 if you're running anything like the 3 or the 4. It's just everything just is so much more fluid and easy to use. So yeah, let's go into the one dialog because it's just has so many things on it. Let's see if we go into the analog gauge editor. Let's see how long that takes to load. Yeah, that does take a while still, but the good thing is that once it loads, it's kind of cached in memory. So this is so good. Yeah, this is fantastic. So yeah, this totally works on the Raspberry Pi 5. I was, I had enough confidence that it would work in order to do this video. I mean, I was going to run through the process anyways, thought I'd hang out with you all to do this, but this is exciting. I would totally get the Raspberry Pi 5 for your dashboard, because this thing works, and it's, man, I think it's faster than even the Fire tablet, like the 10-inch. Yeah, this is good. I want to look for any questions here. Drop me any questions. I need to get going, but if there are no questions, I'm going to end the stream and continue with my evening. I really appreciate you hanging out with me while I do this. I'm super excited. I wish I had done this a lot earlier, but busy and everything. But might do another live stream or a video kind of comparing the performance between the Pi 3 and the Pi 4 and the Pi 5, just to show you how well it works. So yeah, yeah, this rocks. Everything is just so easy to use. All the setup pages, cancel, RPM, analog sensors, loading up. Yeah, this is great. I would totally upgrade to the Raspberry Pi 5. Anyways, well, thanks for hanging out, and this was a fun live stream. I had no idea which way it might go, but off video, I'm going to continue putting together this Smart Pi Touch, and we could do another live stream kind of comparing all three of them and answer more of your questions. All right, everyone, have a great evening. Catch you all later.